Hello there, beautiful friends from all over the world. I'm going to be your host, Blackenfist, and this time around I'm going to be doing a response to an article. Oh yes, this is the first time I'm doing it, but there's a first time for everything. And this time we're going to be responding to an article on Dorkly called 6 Things About Dragon Ball Z That Make No Sense. Now, anyone who's watched my channel will know that there is a lot of things in Dragon Ball that don't make any sense. However, let's see if any of the things brought up in this article actually don't make any sense. At least by Dragon Ball logic, they don't. So why don't we get right into it? Number 6. Why isn't anyone using guns? Oh boy, I can already feel all the typing keyboards. But calm down, guys. It doesn't sound as bad as at face value. The author does acknowledge that guns are pretty damn useless in Dragon Ball. The absence of guns in DBZ is most likely due to the fact that anyone is capable of super powerful energy blast. Who needs an AK-47 when a Kamehameha is basically a hammer-sized bullet with lock-on targeting? So, what's his point? What do you mean guns? Well, apparently what he really meant was guns that shoot energy blasts and I guess key-like projectiles. Why couldn't Bulma and her dad whip up some gun that could shoot mini destructo discs? Well, that's kind of interesting. However, these things actually exist in Dragon Ball. They're actually most prominently used by the Frieza army. If anyone remembers that device that Frieza's soldiers had attached to their arms that shoot energy ki blast techniques. Now, this was also similar devices were used throughout the series. For instance, in the flashback sequence again with Kid Buu, he did kill a couple of those guys wielding weapons like that. And guess what? Every time that we saw these weapons, they were absolutely useless. Number 5. Goku might be the dumbest person alive. Now, before I get into this, I do think there are legitimate arguments for Goku being a little on the dumber side, bit dim. However, I do feel that a lot of what Goku is confused with just his general naivety, and especially in his younger days, with his antisocial behavior. But we'll go into the examples that he gives. Not only is Goku awful when it comes to recognizing social cues and understanding basic things like how medicine makes your body done feel better. That kind of didn't make sense. But he's also straight up stupid when it comes to fighting. Goku being stupid when it comes to fighting, well, let's hold back and let's see what he's got. Example, dude had Frieza dead to rights after he went Super Saiyan for the first time, but he wanted a fair fight, so he let this guy who had just murdered Krillin power up to 100%. And I do want to say that that is a character flaw in Goku. Now, I do believe that Goku knew what he was doing, and that he knew that Frieza had no chance against him, and that's why he made him go up to 100%. So I do believe that Goku was well aware, and what do you know, Frieza was still no match for him in 100%. In the manga, it was even more sided towards Goku since a lot of the filler scenes were cut out with them struggling. However, he does point out that Goku does save Frieza when Frieza begs for mercy, and of course Goku gives him mercy. I don't necessarily think that that is Goku really having, you know, being stupid in terms of fighting. I do feel that that's Goku being gullible, and that's just his nature. But I really want to go to the next one, which is Goku still manages to screw people over. Like the time Cell was about to self-destruct and destroy the Earth, Goku sacrificed himself and teleported the both of them away, but he didn't teleport them somewhere devoid of life like deep space. So I see the argument. Why didn't Goku teleport him to King Kai's planet? Well, I can see why he wouldn't accept his answer. Oh, this is the first thing I could think of. But you gotta remember how the instant transmission works. The instant transmission works by locking onto life signatures. So that is the conventional way the instant transmission works. And most times Goku is using the instant transmission, he is using it by locking onto someone's life signature. He is teleporting to life signatures. So, combined with the fact that Cell was about to explode in just a mere seconds, and yes guys, it was a mere seconds, when Goku is trying to do the instant transmission, he has to concentrate first, and coupled with the fact that he has to rush before Cell actually blows himself up in a couple seconds, I do believe that does make it a little bit more believable that the first thing Goku would think of is King Kai's planet. I mean, if you really think about it, the only other planet that Goku might have come to mind, that the quickest in his mind that he could have locked onto, was maybe New Namek. Now, number 4 is just Mr. Popo. Now, I don't get what doesn't make sense about Mr. Popo. He's an immortal genie. Is it because he's black? Is that what you're saying doesn't make sense about him? Because that seems weird to me. Number 3, everyone should be using solar flare all the time. Now, I do understand where he's coming from. There's a lot of villains in the series that maybe would have been easier to take down with a solar flare. Before Frieza, that is. After Frieza, none of these villains seem to be quite affected by it. You have to keep in mind that the solar flare is also a very easily avoidable technique by just closing your eyes, or if you don't rely too much on your eyes for fighting, it also is a completely useless technique. You also have to keep in mind that during Goku's fight with Frieza, Goku did use obstructing Frieza's eyes as an advantage to him. Now, even though he did this, he still wasn't able to get the upper hand on Frieza, even though he was tactically trying to make it harder for Frieza to hit him by either kicking up dirt or doing things like going underwater so Frieza couldn't see him. Overall, past Frieza, the solar flare really doesn't do much for you. Really, it doesn't. And number 2, oh boy, Goku might be the worst parent alive. So anyone who's been watching me really knows what I stand on this. So I just really want to go straight to his examples and see if they really have any substance. By raising his Gohan as a fighter, Goku puts his child in incredible danger on a daily basis. Before Gohan can learn long division, he's pitted against grown adults out of his league. The kid isn't even 7 years old, and when his dad encourages him to fight against Vegeta, or rather get his kindergarten shit kicked in. Now, I find a lot wrong with this. Okay then, we have to roll back the clock here. First of all, Goku died trying to save Gohan, so he was completely absent for this period. Now, we also have to keep in mind that Goku wasn't raising Gohan up to this point as a fighter. In the very first episodes, Goku clearly stated that Chi-Chi didn't want Gohan to be a fighter, and Goku obliged by her wishes. The only reason Gohan was forced into fighting was because when Goku died, Piccolo was the one who forced Gohan to train. Piccolo was the one who forced Gohan into the fray with the Cybermen. Piccolo was the one who brought Gohan to the situation. When Goku finally made it back to Earth, Goku did the most responsible thing. He moved the fight away from them and anyone else for that matter so that no one could get hurt. That includes his son. Now, the reason Gohan even re-entered the fight is because it was Gohan himself on his own accord going back to the fight, going against his own father's wishes. If you remember, Gohan was the one who was worried about his father being killed in the fight, so he went back to try to help him out. And as anyone can remember, when he came back, Gohan went into a situation he could not get himself out of, so there was no other option but to fight. And Goku couldn't protect Gohan. All of his bones in his body were broken. How could Goku do anything but tell Gohan to fight? That is the only option that he had at that moment. In fact, you could almost blame Krillin for that moment, since he was the one who was the adult in the situation but let Gohan go back anyway. But Goku gets the blame. Goku just watches from a distance, trusting his 11-year-old son to defeat the most powerful being known to man in order to save the entire Earth. Yeah, Gohan eventually blows up and defeats Cell, but did Goku really have to risk the fate of the planet, the lives of billions, to teach his son a lesson? Now that is really misrepresenting the situation. Goku did not let Gohan fight Cell because he was trying to teach Gohan a lesson. He let Gohan fight Cell because he was the only one who could beat Cell. Goku knew that Piccolo couldn't beat Cell, Vegeta couldn't beat Cell, Trunks couldn't beat Cell, he couldn't beat Cell, but he knew the only chance they had was Gohan. He was the only one that could do it. So, on one hand, you have everyone being killed and the planet being destroyed, or potentially Gohan and the whole planet being saved if Gohan fights Cell. Which one's the better option? Now obviously it isn't good for maybe a child to be put in that situation, but when you're in that kind of situation, could you really blame Goku? You have to put the odds and the stakes where they are. We are talking about Gohan being the only one who could do what needed to be done. Now obviously there is a bad father point that I do agree with him. When Gohan is pitted against a weakened Cell, Goku hands his mortal enemy a restorative sensu beam so it'll be a fair fight. That I do believe is a little bit iffy on Goku's part. And I do agree. You know, it's kind of weird that you're handing Cell a sensu beam, but that's just the way Goku is. He was so confident in his son to beating Cell that he was willing to do things like that, and the only time Goku really even broke any doubt, that he had any doubts in his mind, was when Gohan was in that bear hug lock. And I do feel that was a bad moment for Goku because it felt like he didn't understand his son. But I just want to comment on one thing here. Deep down, Goku knows it's true. The weird green alien man with a frog graveyard in his throat knows more about Gohan than his actual father. You know, I'm going to make a video about this whole thing about Piccolo being a better father, and I find it a lot weird. But I will address one thing, just one thing, about Piccolo being a better father. A lot of people say Goku's a bad father because he's absent. You heard it a million times, I know. And I say, well, blah, 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 this and that, and I try to say the circumstances that for the reason why Goku's absent, he's dead, you know what I mean? But it's fine, you know, I think it's a fair argument. Goku's absent, he might not be the best father in the world. That's, I think, a fair argument, even though I would disagree with it. I see it as a valid point, a valid argument. However, if one person says, oh, Goku is a bad father because he's absent, and then in the same breath says Piccolo's a better father, I view that as not a valid point and extremely hypocritical, because if you actually examine the series, Piccolo has spent less time with Gohan than Goku did. And Piccolo doesn't even have a good excuse. At least when majority of the time Goku is absent, it's because he died, and of course he died sacrificing the planet. What is Piccolo's excuse? He's just off training, meditating somewhere in some desert or on the Kami's lookout. Now, I'm not hating on Piccolo because Piccolo doesn't have any obligation to be Gohan's father. I'm not hating on him, but I just find it very, very hypocritical that you're not bringing up the point that Piccolo has really spent less time with Gohan, yet we completely ignore that. We completely ignore the fact that Piccolo spends untold amount of time on Kami's lookout while Gohan is right there on Earth, ignoring him, while we say, oh, Gohan's absent. Now, of course, Piccolo does not have the responsibility to take care of Gohan, so you can't really blame him. But there will be more on that Piccolo thing later on. Number 1, just give Krillin immortality. Krillin has died the most out of anyone in the Dragon Ball series at the total of 4 times. Well, I'll discount GT for now. So Krillin has died a total of 3 times. Just 3. Well, Goku died twice in the series. So now maybe some people will say a character dying 2 times is 1 too many times for a character to be dying, and I could maybe see that point, but this is Dragon Ball. In the end, grand scheme of things, Krillin's only died 1 more time than the main character of Dragon Ball, and the 3rd time Krillin died was when everyone in the series pretty much died. If you really think about it, everyone in the series, including main characters, have died in Dragon Ball. So I don't see why Krillin is picked on so much. I think the reason he is because he dies in so many prominent ways. He dies in very prominent moments. You know, when Goku first transforms into a Super Saiyan. You know, when the King Piccolo was first revealed. I think that's the reason Krillin is so highlighted on this, is because his deaths really are the most highlighted in the series. However, I do believe that it's a bit unfair on Krillin though, because in the end, everyone in the series has died. But anyway guys, that's all the things they got on this list, and I know it's not the newest list or newest article, but you know, I kind of wanted to do a video. I thought it might be a fun video, and hopefully you got some kicks out of it, and maybe you'll look forward to some other videos in my future. So hopefully you look forward to that Piccolo video. I will also be putting out a video about Krillin and a lot of misconceptions about Krillin. I think Krillin gets very unfairly misperceived by the wider Dragon Ball community, you could say. But stay tuned to those things. But until then, guys, I will be Blackenfist, okay? And I'm out, man.